Moving to another state or even another city can be incredibly overwhelming. If you're anything like me, your head may be swimming with questions like, is Provo a good place to live? What are the best neighborhoods? Is it safe? How's the traffic and commute times? What's the cost of living? And how about the schools? In this ultimate relocation guide, I'll walk you through everything you need to know about Provo and Utah County. The neighborhoods, the cost of living, lifestyle, entertainment, the schools, and even some pros and cons. And by the end of this video, you'll know whether Provo and Utah County is the right fit for you. And if you're planning to move in the next 3, 6, or 9 months, you're going to want to save this video. You're going to want to come back to it. So with that, let's get into it. Let's give you an overview of Utah real quick. So here, of course, you can see the state of Utah. Basically, from here on the northern border, you'll have a city called Tremont. And basically, from Tremont and down to Nephi, just south of Provo, that is where the bulk of the population of Utah lives. It lives in an area called the Wasatch Front. It's actually kind of a narrow strip that's no more than 20 miles wide at the widest spot. In a lot of areas, it's, a mile or 2 or 3. It's not that wide. So you can drive lengthwise or widthwise across Salt Lake City in a fairly short amount of time, but lengthwise you can be driving for a couple hours coming from the north down to the south through the heart of the Wasatch Front. Beautiful mountains all along here. So that's where the majority of Utah's population is. The other big population center is down here in the St. George area, right in the corner, just a short drive down to Las Vegas from St. George. I'm going to be focusing specifically more on the Provo area. So you've got Salt Lake City, capital city of Utah, and just south of that, about 50 miles, is Provo, Utah, and Utah County. So you've got basically at this line right here at Lehi, this area is known as the point of the mountain. And so this area that I'm circling with my mouse, that's Salt Lake County. And now this area that I'm circling here, this is basically Utah County. And then of course Provo is the main city in Utah County. It's the capital city. There are and Provo's around 106,000 people or so. Orem, which is a sister city of Provo, again, that's probably also around 100,000 people. Spanish Fork on the south is this biggest city on the south, around 40,000 people. You've got Springville just south of Provo, probably around 30,000 people. Payson, I think, is 20,000. Santaquin's around 10. You've got Salem, which is around 10 or 12,000 people as well. Mapleton's just a smaller community. Linden, also a small community. American Fork, I want to say 35,000. I don't know for sure. Now, Lehi has really grown. 40 years ago, there were about 10,000 people there. Now there's about 90,000 people that live in Lehi. And then we have 2 new communities called Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain that 25 years ago were just small little communities with a few families living there, and then developers went and bought up large tracts of land and developed this area. So over the last 25 years, this is now an area of around 100,000 people between those 2 cities. Saratoga Springs is pretty interesting because it's a long, narrow city just along the west bank here of Utah Lake. Eagle Mountain, there's a mountain right here called Lake Mountain. So from Provo, you can't even really see Eagle Mountain. It's on the other side of Lake Mountain. It's more of desert type climate, but you've got a lot of new construction in this area in Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, and the west side of Lehi. A lot of new building out this way. Commute times, you might be wondering. So if you're going from Saratoga Springs, you're probably about 40 minutes over to Provo. Eagle Mountain's probably 46 to 48 minutes to Provo. Lehi is about 30. Highland and Alpine, because they sit back up here in the mountains and you've got to go a little ways to get to Interstate 15. You're going to be probably 45 minutes to Provo. Orem's just a couple minutes. Linden the same. Vineyard, you've got a new little community right here. This is where they used to have Geneva Steel. It was one of the biggest employers in Utah County. Now that steel mill's gone. The land's been reclaimed, and they've really developed this little area known as Vineyard. Lots of housing in this area. People, I think, flock to this area because it's so close to a commute to Orem and Provo. Springville's probably 5 to 7 minutes to Provo. Spanish Fork about 10. It's about 25 minutes from Salem up here to Provo. Payson's going to also be about 25 minutes. Even though you see Salem's a little bit closer as far as the crow flies, it's a little further from Interstate 15. Santaquin's, again, about 30 minutes or so up to the Provo area. Interstate 15 is the main corridor. It runs all the way through Utah County. That's the only interstate that we have in Utah County. So again, that's kind of your main route to be able to get anywhere in Utah County. We've got Pioneer Crossing, which is a new corridor that helps you get out to the new communities of Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain. You've got 2100 North up here, which is also another connector. This road here is Redwood Road. It actually runs up and connects into the roads up in Salt Lake County. Again, you've got Highway 189, which goes up Provo Canyon up to Heber City. And then you got Highway 89, which you can take on south towards Price or on down to Manti on Highway 89 as well. That Highway 89 turns into Highway 6 going down to Price. So that kind of gives you just an idea of commute times in these cities. Now, if you're looking for more affordable areas, I would definitely recommend Santaquin and Payson. The further south you get from Provo, you'll find newer subdivisions with a little better home prices. Same thing with Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, quite a few options there. There's definitely a lot of new building here in Lehi and here at American Fork and American Fork Crossing. But anything in this area close to Provo is going to be more expensive than areas south. Spanish Fork has some pretty good home prices. Salem has become a bedroom community with more expensive homes overall, especially as you get up here against the mountains. Got incredible views looking back over the valley, but here coming out down into the valley. So we're starting to get some better options here in the Salem area for starter homes. And also here just on the south end corner of Mapleton, right before you go into Spanish Fork Canyon, they've got some new developments here with some more affordable homes, but most of Mapleton's a pretty expensive area. You've got large homes on very big lots, so Mapleton's a more expensive area. And if you come up here into Alpine, Alpine's also considered a very expensive area, very exclusive. You've got mansions in this area, homes on large land or large lots, but very large homes in that area. Up here in the foothills of Lehi is also more of an expensive area. You're starting to get some very big homes up in the hillside. The heart of Orem, you'll find, anything in Orem is a little more expensive just because it's so close to the Provo Orem. Of course, anything that any of the homes that are run right along the foothills of these mountains here and that have views of the valley, you'll find that home prices tend to be more expensive here along the benches in Springville, as well as the benches in Provo and Orem and Pleasant Grove. And these homes generally just cost more money. Here in Provo, let's see if we can break down Provo just a little bit further. Okay, here's a city map of Provo, or a neighborhood district map of Provo. One thing that Provo's done very nicely is they've divided their city into neighborhood districts. There's 5 districts for Provo. You've got the south end out towards the lake. You've got the Lakewood, Sunset, Fort Utah, Lakeview South, and Lakeview North, as well as the Provo Bay neighborhoods. Generally speaking, all this is basically on the west side of Interstate 15 up against Utah Lake. This is where you're going to find the Provo Airport, which is really growing from 4 to 10 gates, starting to get connections for international flights. So you're having lots more opportunities out of Provo now with this airport growing. But generally speaking, you'll find more affordable houses on this west side of Interstate 15, particularly here in this Lakewood area, as you've got a lot of new development going on here with some townhomes and so forth. Sunset also has some more affordable properties in the city. Some of the other areas that you'll find probably some more of the affordable housing, but also older housing, would be here in the heart. This is District 5. This is the heart. This is kind of the downtown part of Provo. Of course, this right here in the center, that is the downtown part of Provo, but you've got the Franklin, the Dixon, the Temp, the Joaquin, the Mazer, the Franklin South and East Bay neighborhoods. And then, of course, University neighborhood. This is everything right around Brigham Young University. Brigham Young University is the flagship university of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, brings a lot of students here looking for high quality education. So a lot of older homes in this area. So there's also a lot of redevelopment going on in this part of Provo. So you've got a lot of areas where they've torn down some of the old industrial stuff and they're going vertical with brand new high-rise apartments, generally down here really close to the tracks line. Here in Utah, we've got a tracks line that basically runs from Ogden down here to Provo. Well, that's the front runner that runs from Ogden down to Provo. And then Trax is up in Salt Lake City, and those are some train lines that run throughout Salt Lake City. They are talking about extending the front runner line from Provo down all the way down to Payson on the south end of Utah County. That hasn't happened yet. As far as public transportation goes here, it's fairly robust in the Provo Orem area, but not so much in the rest of the county. I would say some of the other areas that you can find more affordable housing would be on the southeast neighborhoods of Provost and Provost South and Spring Creek. There's a lot of rentals in this area, some new apartment complexes, a lot of fourplexes and duplexes, particularly in this Provost South and Spring Creek neighborhoods. The Provost area is actually a lot of homes built in probably the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Not particularly affordable. We actually just closed on one in here, right here in the Provost neighborhood. Very old home, not in great condition, not big, and it was over $500,000. Kind of crazy. Now, Foothills is a pretty interesting part of Provo in that in this little part of Foothills, you've got some really nice newer homes, very big homes. And then the rest of the Foothills neighborhood are older homes that are probably built in the 20s or 30s. Pretty small homes in this area, but that also makes them a little more affordable. Wasatch neighborhood, also called the Tree Streets neighborhood. This and the Oak Hills, these are very desirable areas. You'll pay more. In fact, I just sold one the first part of this year. It was about 3,000 square feet, built in 1958, and it was like $820. And it was somewhat updated. I mean, it's nice, but it wasn't brand new on the inside. So that gives you, this is right next to BYU. So the location is really desirable. Oak Hills gets a little bit more up on the hills, so you start getting some really good views of the valley. Anything in this green, in this District 1, you've got Rock Canyon, you've got Indian Hills, Sherwood Hills, you've got North 10th View, Edgemont, Riverside, and River Bottoms. You will find a lot of very expensive homes, particularly in the River Bottoms and the Riverside neighborhoods, and even here into the Carterville area. Very beautiful states in here. And then here in the Sherwood Hills and Indian Hills and the Rock Canyon, this is more up on the bench, up on the mountain, so you have absolutely incredible views looking back over the valley and Utah Lake. Very expensive home prices here. Older homes in this North 10th View and Edgemont area, built in the 60s, a lot of them, still pretty expensive. They're intermixed in these areas are some new neighborhoods with some brand new homes, well over $1 million. A lot of these homes are going to be even $2 million, so pretty expensive. The River Bottoms, Riverside, you've got mansions in here. You're talking $3, $4, $5 million homes. Same thing with Carterville. North Park, you will find some older. In the River Grove area, you will find some older homes in this area, maybe a little more affordability. The Grandview South and North, there's a mix. You do have some newer homes in more on this edge of the Grandview that are a little more expensive, but you've got a lot of homes built again in the 60s, 70s, and 80s in this particular part of town. Now, I just want to come back down here to downtown. Here along Center Street in the downtown area and just going east out of downtown, you will find some of the most beautiful, stately old homes, probably built in the early 1900s. A lot of incredible architecture in these neighborhoods in this area. A lot of people are attracted to that. The downtown neighborhood's being revitalized. They're bringing in a lot of new shops, a lot of dining options, particularly on the Center Street area in downtown Provo, right next to the Provo City Center Temple. That's becoming a real draw. A lot of people like coming in here for shopping and dining, particularly on the weekends. So if you want that type of lifestyle, then that's where you're going to want to live. Thinking about relocating to Utah? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research. And I've linked it down below, from top employers to the best hospitals and a boatload of other things that you need to know before making the move. The best part is this guide is 100% free. That's right, you heard me right, 100% free. Just click the link in the description on the top pinned comment. Hope that helps. But overall, if you don't want to live in the heart of Provo and you want to be out and about a little bit, I think some great places to live that offer some newer housing at pretty good prices would be Spanish Fork, and even on the south end of Mapleton. Santaquin's got a lot of new construction right close to the freeway. Santaquin actually seems like you can almost get to Provo just as quick as you can from Salem, where I live, just because it's so close to the freeway. Other good options would be this American Fork Crossing area, this west side of Lehi, Saratoga Springs, and Eagle Mountain. These areas just offer you more options for newer homes, so that you, generally speaking, the thing that's nice with a newer home is generally you're going to have less maintenance. You get into the heart of Provo in that downtown district I'm talking about, you're talking really old homes, so the likelihood of having more maintenance costs is greater in those areas. So hopefully that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of the layout of Utah County and the Provo area. I want to talk about some of the amenities just real quick since I have the map up. One of the things that I think that really draws people into Provo in the Utah County area is the access to outdoor lifestyle. As you can see, we've got Utah Lake here directly west of Provo. Large freshwater lake. If the Jordan River flows out of Utah Lake and flows up into the Great Salt Lake, which is as you've heard, is a large salt lake. It's not a freshwater lake, but Provo's a great place if you want to go out here on Utah Lake and just enjoy afternoon, evening on the boat with your family, water skiing or wakeboarding or fishing. Great place to go. But some of the other cool things you've got with up Provo Canyon, some of the best scenery you'll ever see is going up that canyon. You got the incredible Brigham Falls just up Provo Canyon. So beautiful. Great short little hike. You've got Sundance. You can get up to Sundance, the ski resort going up through Provo Canyon. And then just a little bit past Sundance, or just past Provo Canyon, you'll get up to right before Heber City. You'll get to Deer Creek, which is a beautiful reservoir. This is a very popular place for people to take their boats. If you want even more options, then people come up to Heber City and they'll head back down southeast to Strawberry Reservoir. Incredible trout fishing, kokanee salmon fishing on this reservoir. So those are some fun things that people do in this area. You've also got the other reservoir just up out of Heber City that a lot of people enjoy going to. Jordanelle State Park. It's cold. I did a triathlon there years ago. That water was freezing. And then of course, if we want to get outside of just some of the outdoor, well, let me just talk more about the outdoor lifestyle. You've got hiking trails all through these mountains. So if you're a hiker or even a mountain biker, there's trails everywhere. They've got a fun little mountain bike trail park here at the mouth of Spanish Fork Canyon, as well as the Corner Canyon area up here in Lehi, up on the Suncrest part up here. There's some wonderful mountain trails there. There's mountain trails here also in the Orem area, or the foothills of Orem, and in Provo along the Bonneville shoreline. Some great hiking there. Of course, Provo, Mountain is another place that people love to go on hikes. So as far as outdoor activities, there's just so much to do. Again, I talked about Sundance Ski Resort, but just here out of Salt Lake City, of course, you're not that far to get into Park City with all the resorts they have there, but there's two canyons here in the Salt Lake Valley. Take you about an hour and 20 minutes or less from Provo to get up there. To go up to Little Cottonwood Canyon or Big Cottonwood Canyon. You've got Brighton up there and Alta and just some of the other ski resorts. You've got 4 really nice ski resorts up in this area, all really close to Provo. So, all right, there you go. There's just kind of an overview of the Provo, Utah area. Okay, let's talk cost of living. But I guess before we totally get to cost of living, I would definitely recommend you check out my recent What It Costs to Live in Utah 2025 video. I should put a link somewhere up above. Go check that out, where I break down my monthly expenses, what it costs me to live here in Utah. But with that being said, this is a big question a lot of people want to know, is the cost of living here in Utah County. And so some of the things that you can do if you want some more data is you can go to bestplaces.net, where it'll give you some information. I guess they've got some info behind a paywall if you want additional information, but you can come in here and put in Provo City cost of living. It shows that Provo City, you'll need about $7,260 a month for a family, which is 34.4% more expensive than the national average. A single person, $3,000 a month. There's other information down here too that shows, the typical, and this is why it's always good to reach out to a local expert, because it shows housing costs, typical home costs $454,100. Not really. I think that information is a little outdated. It costs more than that for a typical home in the Provo area. But then again, it also varies by the different cities in and around Provo. So that's where it's really good if you connect up with the real estate professional that really knows the area and can go over those figures with you. But assuming the typical home is $454,000, it says that's 34% more expensive than the national average of $338,000. So you can just see it's just a little bit more expensive. I think our biggest cost of living issue that's more than a lot of areas is just our housing's more expensive. Generally speaking, all the things I keep looking at show that our utilities are a little bit less, transportation is a little bit less. They have a cost of living score, and some of these numbers are behind a paywall and you can't see those. But anyway, if you want more information, you can pay, or you can just kind of get a general idea of the cost of living for whatever city you're wanting to look at, whether it's Provo or Salt Lake or Denver or whatever. You can go to this site and kind of get an idea. Another really cool thing is the Forbes cost of living calculator. This is pretty cool. I just pulled some numbers out of my hat. I put in pre-tax household income of $70,000, and so you can compare what your current city is like compared to where you're wanting to move to. I just chose Seattle because that's certainly an area that a lot of people relocate to Utah from, is the Seattle area. They come here to the Provo Orem area, and it's saying to maintain your standard of living in the Provo Orem, Utah area, you'll need a household income of $48,879. It's saying the cost of living is 43% lower in the Provo Orem area compared to the Seattle area. And then again, there's some other data down here. Total income needed is $21,000 less than what you would need up in Seattle. Transportation costs are 20% lower. Homes tend to cost 48% lower than Seattle. The cost of living in Provo Orem is 43% lower than your current city. Utilities tend to cost 14% lower. So compared to some western cities, Provo Orem is definitely cheaper, or has a better cost of living. It's cheaper than Salt Lake, Denver, LA, Seattle. I think it's real close to Boise and Phoenix and Vegas. Those are all pretty similar. Those might be just a little bit better on the cost of living in the Provo Orem area. So that gives you an idea for the cost of living here in the Provo, Utah area. Now, let's talk about schools. Again, I can't steer you to any particular school district because that would be against a lot of, against real estate rules and regulations. But I can kind of go over what I know about the school districts here in Utah Valley area. Currently there are three school districts. You have the Alpine School District, which basically covers Orem, Linden, American Fork, Lehi, Alpine, Highlands, Saratoga Springs, and Eagle Mountain, all this area here. However, they are splitting that into three separate districts. That should be completed by 2027 is what I was reading yesterday. I don't remember the names of these districts, but I do know kind of the rough boundaries of it. So basically it's going to be the Orem, Linden, maybe American Fork area is going to be one district, and then you'll have the Lehi, Highland, Alpine will be another district, and then Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain will be the third district. That's what's going to happen with the Alpine School District. Right now, it's the largest school district in the state. It's very large. And I actually attended Alpine School Districts growing up, and I enjoyed every school that I went to. I started out at Cascade Elementary School, and I attended Orem High School for a very short time before my family moved back to Arizona. So I had a good time going to the Alpine School District. Most of my schooling actually was done, though, in the Nebo School District, which starts Springville and heads southward. Goes Springville, Mapleton, Spanish Fork, Salem, Payson, and Santaquin. All this is in the Nebo School District. All of my kids attend the Nebo School District. They've all graduated from Salem Hills High School. I don't have anything bad to say about the Spanish Fork School District. I've got nieces and nephews over in Spanish Fork to go to those schools. And then Provo City is its own school district. There are two high schools in Provo. Then again, of course, all throughout the county, you will have, I'm basically just talking about the public schools, but you do have many charter schools as well as private schools. I'm aware of quite a few charter schools in the area, and down here in Spanish Fork and Santaquin, there's a bunch, again, up here in Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain as well. So you have charter school options. I'm not as familiar with the private schools, but there are a few throughout Utah County. Generally speaking, I think most of the schools do well on all the tests, the testing and the scores. If you want to have a little better idea of an individual school, I would definitely recommend checking out publicschoolreview.com, where you can put in your schools individually. In this particular case, I came in and I put in Alpine School District, and it gave it it says, it's got 92 schools in the district, and shows its rankings and different things in different areas. It's got a lot of students right now, 87,000. That's why they're splitting it into three. But if you want more information about the individual schools in those areas, in those cities, then go to this tool here and enter in that school to find your school rankings and so forth. Or another thing that I heard someone else mention that you could do is you could go to Facebook and the public pages on Facebook. Most schools or most people have created a public Facebook group about a school or a city where people talk about the schools, and you might be able to get some local knowledge on different schools that you may be interested in. So anyway, there you go. There's some ideas on not only cost of living, but also on the schools and education here in Utah County. Hey there, it's Scott Walters with Best USA Realty, your Utah YouTubing realtor. And as much as I love making these videos, there's one thing that I love more, and that's helping families and people from all over the U.S. to move here. I've helped countless families move, so whether you're thinking of moving next week, next month, or even next year, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact is right here on the screen, and it's linked linked in the description down below just in case you missed the pop-up. I look forward to helping you and your family make the move here to Utah. Okay, let's talk lifestyle and things to do here in Utah Valley, here in the Provo Orem area. I talked about some of these things that you can do during the map tour of the whole area, but let me just mention some of these again. One of the huge things here in Utah, of course, is the greatest snow on earth. Skiing. Right out of Provo, up Provo Canyon, you've got Sundance Ski Resort, which is such a fun place to ski, but they also have absolutely incredible summer activities up there. They have outdoor plays in the summer. Love going to those with my wife, but you can also take fall ski lift rides and go check out the beautiful fall colors riding their ski lift up there. They do mountain biking in the summertime too, where you can put your mountain bike on the ski lift and go up there and bike down their trails. And so you've got that. And if you want even more mountain biking at ski resorts, you've got that at the ski resorts up in Park City area, as well as the ski resorts up out of Salt Lake, up in Big Cottonwood and Little Cottonwood Canyons. Several of those ski resorts also have bike trails and summer ski lift and fall rides you can do as well. So besides all the incredible skiing that you can do in the Provo, Utah Valley area, they've got all those summer activities at those ski resorts too. Now, if water's your thing, there's a lot of fun to be had on the lakes and reservoirs in and around Provo. Of course, you've got Utah Lake, which just is on the west side of Provo, a great big freshwater lake. My family and I love to take the boat out there and go wakeboarding or tubing. Some people like to go fish out there. There's not a lot of the fish out there that I like to catch. I like to go after trout, and I have better luck with the trout going to places like Jordan L, Deer Creek, Strawberry Reservoir, Schofield Reservoir. In fact, tomorrow my boy and I are going to go up to Strawberry Reservoir and go catch some nice big trout on that lake. If you want to see what it's like fishing on there, I've got a video on Strawberry Reservoir, and go find that and check that out. Of course, a lot of people love to hike. I went on a hike this morning up to the Father Escalante Cross in Spanish Fork that overlooks all of Utah Valley. So yeah, you got the Y Trail just there in the mountains east of Brigham Young University there in Provo. That's a great hike. You've got the Bonneville Shoreline Trail that goes along the foot of the Wasatch Mountains, as well as there's all kinds of trails all throughout the mountains you can go enjoy. Lots of trails up the Nebo Loop area on the south end of Utah County. You can hike to your heart's content. So that's another activity that people love to do as well. Can't forget to talk about all the recreations you can do up the different canyons here in Utah Valley. There's multiple canyons here. You've got Santaquin Canyon on the south, and then from moving north, you've got the Nebo Loop Road. Some of the best fall drives you'll ever experience are up the Nebo Loop Road. You've got Spanish Fork Canyon, also not a bad fall drive. Then you got Hobble Creek Canyon, beautiful drive, amazing golf course up there up Hobble Creek Canyon. Then you got Provo Canyon and American Fork Canyon. Provo Canyon is probably the one that most people have heard of. That's how you get up to the Sundance Ski Resort that I was talking about earlier. But also just driving up the Provo Canyon, you'll come across and see the Bridalveil Falls, which is a beautiful waterfall. All time, a great little hike. It's a short hike, fun thing to do. And then of course you can hop on the Alpine Loop, which takes you up to Sundance, but also goes up and over, drops down into American Fork Canyon. On that side, you got Timpanogos Cave hike. Also, just past the Sundance turnoff, you keep going, you can kind of loop around over into the Heber Valley. You can come out Cascade Springs, which is another beautiful area to check out. Beautiful fall colors. There's trailheads to be able to hike Mount Timpanogos going just off of that Alpine Loop Road. Another beautiful waterfall up there is Stewart Falls. So just a lot of outdoor recreation that way with hiking and checking out waterfalls and fall colors. And of course, you can't really talk Utah and Utah Valley without talking about how close it is to the big five, the 5 national parks in Utah. Of course, you've got Zion National Park, probably the most popular national park down just out of the St. George area. From Provo, it's probably about 3.5 hours to get, maybe 4, to get to Zion National Park. You've got Bryce Canyon, which is about a 3-hour drive to the south, as well as Arches and Canyonlands, which are really close together. Right in that Moab area, that's about 2 hours and 45 minutes to get down to the Moab area. My family and I absolutely love going to Arches. So many beautiful arches to check out in that park, and Canyonlands has just some incredible vistas with those canyons to look at. You also have the State Park Dead Horse Point there with that beautiful horseshoe bend. Beautiful scenery. You got Capitol Reef, really beautiful park. My whole family and I checked that out last year. We hadn't really been through that park much. It's probably one of the least visited parks in Utah, but it's beautiful, and there's a lot of beautiful scenery just near Capitol Reef, like the Calf Creek Falls. Man, that's some amazing territory driving along to that and hiking into that. So, and again, I talked about Bryce Canyon. That's probably my family's favorite national park here in Utah. We love going there. And then another thing, you're like 7 hours away to like Yellowstone National Park. If you want to go check out some of the other national parks in other states around us, it's really close to Yellowstone, to Grand Teton National Park. You've got Mesa Verde over in Colorado, or Rocky Mountain National Park down. Both of those are probably 6 to 7 hours from the area. You got the Great Basin National Park over in Nevada. So lots of really cool. Can't forget to talk about the Grand Canyon. The north rim of the Grand Canyon from Provo is probably about 6 hours south. It's a little further, about 8 hours if you want to go to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. But yeah, a lot of beautiful national parks really close to the Provo Orem area. That's a draw for a lot of people. As far as like different family activities in the Provo Orem area, you've got Thanksgiving Point up there in the Lehi area. They have a movie theater, but they also have museums. In the fall, they have the pumpkin patch and the corn maze and things to do there at Thanksgiving Point. You have a bunch of those different corn mazes that pop out throughout the valley during the fall time. They've got Rolly's Red Barn down in Santaquin that a lot of people enjoy going to. And so anyway, a lot of that to do. You've got the Provo Rec Center. A lot of people love going up there and enjoying hanging out there, but you've also got the Springville Rec Center, the Orem Rec Center. Spanish Fork will have one that's be done pretty soon as well. So a lot of great opportunities that way for healthy activities for the whole family. Then of course, I think one of the fun places to go and see is the historic downtown Provo. They've really revitalized that as far as like bringing in new businesses. There's a lot of different food options. One of my kids' favorite places is what's it called? La Petite or something like that. It's a French bakery. My kids love going there, but they've got some other really fun ethnic foods in that area. It's a real big draw. People are coming in on the weekends to Provo to check out all the different kind of foodie scene, and that's kind of the nightlife scene of Provo, is hanging out in that downtown part of Provo. If you want sports, well, Brigham Young University has got some of the best sports around. Their football team always does well. The men's basketball team is really an up-and-coming program. The women's basketball team and women's soccer team are always fun to watch. So if you want to have some high-level collegiate athletics, Brigham Young University is right there in Provo. In fact, the first game for the fall kicks off in about 2 weeks there at Lavelle Edwards Stadium at BYU. If you want some professional sports where you're just a short drive up to Salt Lake where you can check out the Utah Jazz. Utah now has a professional hockey team with the Utah Mammoth. There's also a professional Major League Soccer team in Real Salt Lake, and then there's some minor league baseball up in that area too. So there's a lot of stuff to do as far as professional sporting activities up in the Salt Lake area. And then a lot of arts and things that you can attend. You got the Utah Symphony, and there's lots of places where you can catch on play or check out plays. You got the Hale Center Theaters there in Pleasant Grove, and also in the Sandy area where they have beautiful, well-done productions that you can go enjoy. So the arts, Utah is pretty big on the arts with those types of things. So there's really no end to activities that you can do near Provo. Okay, let's just quickly talk about the climate here in Utah. We have 4 seasons, 4 beautiful seasons. We have a very distinct fall, winter, spring, summer. Right now we're kind of in the last days of summer. I went on a hike this morning. I actually started seeing a little bit of fall colors up on the hillsides. Here in about a month, those fall colors will be at their absolute peak. I think Utah is probably a little underrated as far as fall colors. When you go up the canyons, just some beautiful, vibrant yellows from the quaking aspens and beautiful reds from the maple trees. So just some really beautiful fall drives all throughout the canyons here in Utah, very near Provo. Winter can be cold, but that's why we have great skiing, because we get great snow. We get the dry, powdery snow. We've got winters that sometimes we can get several feet of snow down here in the valleys. Most winters, it feels like the snow tends to mostly stay up in the mountains. In fact, I only brought out my 4-wheeler like one time last winter to move snow. We had a very mild winter. The winter before was crazy. Like, it seemed like every other day we were getting a foot of snow. And so just know it varies. Some years really heavy winters, lots of snow, and other years fairly mild. One cool thing about Utah is it generally warms up enough in the daytime that it'll melt the snow off of the roads, and the roads will kind of clear up, and they usually don't stay icy. So that's definitely a benefit for our winters. Springtime's hit or miss. Some years we have these long, drawn out, beautiful springs. Oftentimes it feels like we almost go from winter to summer. It just stays kind of cold, wintry weather, and then all of a sudden the next day it's 80 degrees and spring or summer. But sometimes we do have a nice spring. This particular spring was one of the greenest I remember in a long time. It was beautiful. We definitely had several weeks of spring before we transitioned into more of mild summer. It hasn't really been that hot. In fact, we only had one day of 100 degrees. But sometimes we can have very hot summers. We can have 100, 102 degrees, and it feels pretty darn hot. It's a lot worse in southern Utah, down in the St. George area. They can get up to 110, 112. But here, generally speaking, our summers here in the Utah Valley area, we're going to be in the high 90s. That's what our summers look like. Okay, so just some quick pros and cons. The job market's still really strong here in Provo Orem. There's a strong tech hub, healthcare and education. Again, you've got Brigham Young University and Utah Valley University as large employers here in Utah Valley. You've got Silicon Slopes up there around the Lehi and Draper area with a lot of startup jobs and tech jobs. Intermountain Healthcare, Mountain Star, they provide a lot of healthcare jobs throughout the valley. And then it's also, Utah Valley is very family oriented. It's a very strong family, just family oriented communities. We have the Four Seasons I talked about, and compared to other Western cities, we're relatively affordable. It's cheaper housing here in the Provo Orem area compared to Salt Lake, compared to Denver, Seattle, Los Angeles, Portland. You'll find better housing costs here in the Provo Orem area. Now, some of the cons is the housing costs are rising, and they are rising quickly. We are still appreciating in home prices, even though our inventory levels are rising pretty good. Home prices are still going up a little bit. Air quality is a challenge, particularly in the summertime when we get a lot of smoke from the wildfires. We had one that just started yesterday in Provo in the mountains just east of Provo. I looked at it earlier today. It looks like they've got a pretty good handle on getting that one stopped. That can make our air quality pretty bad in the summer. We always get smoke that blows in from out of state, from fires out of state as well. So you're going to deal with that many days in the summertime. So if you've got some breathing issues, your lungs may not enjoy the summers here in Utah. Now, one of the other things we also have are winter inversions. Every year. We have about 5 or 6 winter inversions a year, which is basically these high pressures trap all the pollutants and the fog and smog down in the valleys, and so that it can be so thick that you can't even see the mountains. Generally, it takes a big storm to come in and blow those out, and then we're back to having really clear, clean, fresh air. But just know you're going to deal with some of those winter inversions every year. Another con is Utah is still a very car-centric state. You definitely need a car to get around, although one of the pros is the public transportation is getting better all the time. I talked about it earlier in the video. We do have the Front Runner that runs from Ogden down to Provo, and they're planning on extending that even down to Payson. So if you're wanting to commute along the Wasatch Front, you can hop on that. In the Salt Lake area, you have the track system that gets you around the valley. In the rest of the areas, you have the UTA bus system that's pretty robust in the bigger cities. So you've got that. So it's getting better, but still overall, you definitely need a car for most areas that you live to be able to get around, to get to work and shopping and so forth. And then, sometimes that conservative culture might not be a fit for everybody. Utah is definitely a more conservative culture than other states around us. And then, if you're not used to snow, the winters can be tough sometimes. So anyway, there's just some quick pros and cons of living in Utah. For those of you thinking of moving to the Utah area, where are you moving from, and what's the reason why you're leaving your current city or state? I'm truly curious, so make sure to let me know down below. So is Provo, Utah the right place for you? Hopefully this relocation guide gave you a clearer picture of what life is really like here in Provo, Utah and the Utah Valley area. And if you want to go deeper, check out my 2025 cost of living in Provo video. You can check that out by clicking on somewhere up here, or go check out my Provo pros and cons 2025 video. I'll try to put a link in that somewhere up above as well. And again, if you're looking to make a move in the next three months, 6 months, or 9 months, save this video. You'll want to come back and watch it again. And I'll also include a free relocation guide in the link down below. Go check it out. And of course, as always, if you just want more in-depth information on these different cities, reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd love to do a Zoom call with you and go over your needs and wants for the Provo, Utah area, where you can find more information on my website at www.bestusarealty.com. Again, my name is Scott Walters of Best USA Realty. I am your Utah YouTubing realtor. I talk everything what it's like to live, sleep, eat, work, and play in the Utah Valley area. And with that, we will see you on the next video.